What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. We have a very startled Matt Swift joining us tonight. Matt, first thing before we even start about a victory Thursday and a victory Monday, do you have your laptop plugged in? Are you ready for the show?
I do. Everything plugged in, ready to go. I am a professional. Let's do this.
Awesome, man. Well, we've had an interesting week this week. We've had a very busy week. It feels like Nashville was 2 weeks ago, but here we are on a Thursday night to talk about MLS After Dark, late Wednesday night game for Charlotte FC versus the Chicago Fire. And then we are here to talk about last Saturday's game, Charlotte FC versus Nashville. And it feels like I said, 2 weeks ago, but we've had 2 games, matter of 5 days, and Charlotte walked away with 6 points in both of them. So it's a pretty good feeling, man. How are you feeling, though?
I feel good considering we're doing a show about the best team in the whole freaking galaxy, who we're going to be playing this weekend. But yeah, it's great.
Look at that segue there with the little teaser of Galaxy there. But awesome, man. Well, it's glad everyone's here joining us live. We're doing a live show on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc. So the cool thing is we love to have the interaction from fans. So if you have questions during the show, make sure you drop them in the chat. We got some other questions that we asked ahead of time, so we'll be getting to those throughout the game. But let's rewind real quick and go back in time here, Swift, to a galaxy far, far away, and talk about Saturday's game real quick about Nashville versus Charlotte FC. Swift, I was there. You were there. Nashville fans were talking a lot of junk on social media for this game, and Charlotte walked away with 3 points at the bank. And I don't want to say this, but they kind of got their coach fired officially today from Nashville. So
That's right.
Gary Smith is no longer their head coach after playing us this past week. But let's do a quick recap of that game. How was your feeling from that game? We had a little bit of a different lineup because Enzo Capetti was at that time rumored to not be with us anymore, but he was in the stadium watching. And we had Patrick Agyemang starting up top. Leo Bada was out for this game as well. And interesting lineup, right? So how did you feel going into that game ahead of time, and what were some of your thoughts during that show or during that game?
Interesting lineup for sure. Friday, I kind of got wind that Pekovic was going to start, and alongside Westwood and Bronico. But when the lineups came out, that was not the case. Pekovic was not starting, and we went with Gianni. So I kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit, and I was a little worried that we weren't going to have enough offense going forward. But I think we did enough to defensively to really just absolutely shut down Nashville. Heini Mukhtar, who is a former MLS MVP, it was it's simply a non-factor in this game, and I think that says a lot to our midfield and our defense. We just played a killer. Like Andrew Privet had his best game of his career, and I think just defensively altogether, we played phenomenally. We did a good job of clogging the middle. We didn't allow crosses into the box that hurt us last time we played them, and just really just shut everybody down. So it was a great game, but yeah, the lineup was interesting, and we did enough to get a result.
Yeah, Privet played a hell of a match, and like talk about a player that's really coming to his own. Like
Yeah,
rewind 365 days ago. If you asked 90% of Charlotte FC fans who Andrew Privet was, I'd probably tell you a majority of which probably would not be able to tell you who he was, right? And someone that's come in, played out of quote unquote out of position early on in Latangio's system, got put into play center back, and now has really, I feel like, solidified his starting position for the club and was rewarded for it in that hell of a game. He got MLS starting 11 honors for that game against Nashville, right? Shut down Nashville's DP strikers, made some huge blocks and saves, and be able to make some tackles. Like he's played really, really well. And that, what a credit to the front office and the scouting department for that MLS Super Draft pick to be able to come in and be a solid starter for the club.
Yeah, one of Nashville's fans that's always pretty annoying, Denzel. Everybody probably knows him. I tweeted at him because he was, talking about the coach and how they have good players, they just don't have the coach. I was like, well, not to pile on to your loss, but you literally got beat by our super draft guys, and Privet and Patrick Agame, who were super draft picks. Basically did your team up. Collectively, I think they make 120, 130K between both of them, and they went out there and just owned Nashville. Both of those guys. It was just such an amazing thing to see. And I'm not when I say that stuff, I'm not knocking them because they're in the super draft. That's a huge, massive compliment to them, and then also, like you just said, David, to the front office for identifying them. What round was Privet in? Was he a third round pick? Something like
Yeah,
that?
I think he was second or third round. Yeah.
I mean, it just the level of the level that both of those guys are playing at, but just Andrew Privet for a second, like the fact again, we've said this multiple times, him playing out of position and just being this is his sophomore year. He's played every single minute. And not only that, has played really, really well pretty much every single game. But this Nashville game is like, Jesus, man, like what a career game. Like unbelievable to shut them down like that. He did not put a foot wrong the whole game. I'm just extremely proud of him.
Yeah, we've actually met his parents. I think it was last year at the Red Bulls game in the playoff game, and they were super friendly, nice. It was awesome to see them there supporting, and like they were really nice to all the fans. All the fans were super friendly to them. But I think one of the things that stood out, and I think I can't remember if it was a broadcast or like a comment from the broadcasters of the game, or I read it online somewhere. But if you go back to the first time we played Nashville, like we probably should at least drew or won that game, and now, if you fast forward to this game, we obviously shut them down. And Nashville, the first time played us, kind of had some opportunities in the box that if Malanda or Privet, et cetera, was a little more stout, played the ball better in the air, probably wouldn't have happened, right? So I almost feel like they kind of took that game personal and said, hey, we're not letting this happen again. We're going to shut them down and make sure that Nashville does not score. And I think this is our third clean sheet in a row for the club. I mean, that's including Chicago, but that was almost the start of this process, right? Which is, I think, big kudos to the team overall for the improvement.
Yeah, I think the last Nashville game, they got Malanda and Privet got worked, but a lot of that came from out wide. There were too many balls into the box that were just uncontested, and we just didn't play good team defense. And a lot of that was because of the midfield. But I think to Dean's credit, even though we all were kind of scratching our heads about Pekovic being dropped, and people like Bronico and people don't like Bronico, but I think it clearly worked. But I think Bronico is not a flashy player, but I think he's a big reason why we won that game, because we just shut down that middle, didn't allow crosses in, and it allowed Malanda and Privet to play their best games and shut down who was coming against them. So, and kind of going back to Bronico real quick, last year he was asked to be more attacking, and that's unfair to him because that's not his game. I think he would tell you that he is best when he can be physical, break up plays, play defensively, and just if you don't hear from him in a game, that's okay, because if you don't hear from the opposing team's number 10 or one of their great players, that's a good night. So don't forget that too. Like I know, again, a lot of people like Bronico, they don't like him, but just keep that in mind. Like Hani Mukhtar, not a factor, and Brandt was a big part of that. I think he gets crapped on a little bit because again, especially last year, I think he was asked too much to go forward, and that's just not his game. But when he has a good night, you may not hear much, but you won't be hearing from the opposing team's good players.
I'm definitely rocking my Brandt Bronico jersey right now. So I still give him the love and the kudos as much as possible. So year one, Bronico jersey right here, baby. So yeah, and I know that was a interesting pick for a lot of fans on social media to have him start in this game, but I thought he played decent. And, I mean, whenever he does play, I mean, he hustles and has a motor nonstop and is all over the place constantly. And he's physical as much as he can be in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. We need that at different times of the year. And I think you're actually starting to see in this situation,
exactly.
I know I'm jumping back and forth a little bit with the Chicago game and Nashville game, but when you start getting in this, schedule congestion in these midweek games, it's really important to have these depth pieces and these players that can come in and sub out, and you don't see a dip in performance, or they match up better and they come in like a Junior Urso played versus a Brand Bronico or vice versa. You have different matchups and abilities to be able to come in and play better against the opponent and not have a serious drop off from week to week.
Yeah. And before, if you're critical of Bronico, that's perfectly fine. But think about this. Miguel, Latanzio, Dean Smith, all at least like Bronico enough to start him in key games. And that should tell you something. You may not like the way Bronico plays or think, I've seen some people say he shouldn't even be in the roster and yada, yada, yada. But three coaches that are vastly different. Miguel, Latanzio, and Dean are just different personality-wise, how they want to play. But they've all rate Bronico enough to start him. So you could say what you want, but at least three professional coaches seem to think maybe differently of some of his critics. And I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's back on the field. He's not going to start every game, and that's perfectly fine. Again, we have the tools now that Dean can look at a certain team and then put out a lineup that can best counteract what that team is going to throw at us.
So, not to stay on Nashville for too long, but Patrick Aujamain made a start and made another goal. So, talk about a player that is being impactful, and it's starting to get a lot of love. I think Matt Doyle online wrote an article and is starting to give him some love. I think Tom Bogert's starting to make him some love. MLS articles are coming out, and like you're seeing there you go, Jake. Yep, Pat, right there. Look at Jake's headshot there. Jesus, man.
Look at that. That is the brawny man on paper towels. That is the brawny man right there. He just needs an axe. That's it right there.
There you go. So, I mean, but Big Pat, man, like talk about a player who is starting to get recognition. Is Pat perfect? No, he's still got some opportunities and some touch and here and there. But like, dude, like this guy comes in and hustles and makes plays and like creates for us, which is, I don't want to like shit on our previous striker DP, but he didn't really create, right? And you've seen like Pat come in and actually create within the time that he's getting on the field.
I think Pat's perfect. So I think what has benefited our team this year is, one, defensively we're a lot better, night and day better. How we're winning games though, instead of drawing games like 0-0, is the individual plays that Patrick Aujamain can make. He did this last year. He's done this year. He can make a play himself. He uses his body. He uses that frame. He's tall. Like, he's fast. He's a freaking nightmare to guard. And we'll talk about the Chicago game in a little bit. He's done so well. And yeah, sure, he needs to develop more. But good Lord, it's going to be frightening when he develops any at all. Like, I just think he's done so well and has really taken his chances. And like, you were saying, like, not to like crap on people, like Enzo's gone, but like Enzo can't make those plays. He just can't. And Patrick can. And that's why you saw him start. And that's why you see him score over and over again. And then when he doesn't score, he's such a damn nuisance that he draws fouls where we can score. So I love Patrick just as a person, player. I'd love to see where he can go, and hopefully we can keep him a couple of years, and I'm sure other teams will come calling for him.
Ring, ring, ring. Pick up the phone, right? So what's
don't pick up the phone that time, Patrick. Stay here.
Yeah. Stay here for at least a little bit longer, please. We need it. So anything else that stood out to you from the Nashville game? Like, I'll just like do a quick plug. The giveaway was really cool, by the way. I see it on your desk behind you, Swift. The trading card, the player the poker cards, etc. Like that's a
Yeah.
really cool giveaway. It's probably one of my favorite ones that we've given, just because it has like Sir
Oh,
Minty and
interesting.
the Queen and the throne and all this stuff in there. It's Bojangles theme too, but like, whatever. But anything that stood out to you
Yeah.
from the Nashville game that you just want to highlight, make sure we cover before we transition to Chicago?
You know who else had a big game that we always, well, not always, but we're very critical of? That's Brecht. I thought Brecht
Yeah.
had a really, really good game. I think maybe his best of the season. He put in some a really great effort defensively. Again, I think that's one of the reasons why we were in this game and had a chance to win and ultimately did. But big kudos to him for this game. Yeah, I just overall I thought we played well, and I'm just so proud of shutting down Nashville, especially with some of the players that they have out there.
And also because of their social media fans that are just obnoxious. That's also nice to shut them up
Oh
too.
yeah,
But
that was yeah.
I will say for Breck, though, it's interesting that it seems like he plays better on that wing position than he does in the center mid. Like it seems like that's a better fit for him, and he has more confidence. He already naturally drifts over there anyways.
Exactly.
And like it seems natural. And he does actually, he's pretty aggressive. He tries to make tackles. He's sound going back and forth. He's not scared to go back and play some defense. I know we were joking that one game where he tried to do a slide tackle and it was just horrific. But I mean, he tries, right? It's better than having some wingers
Yeah,
that just
sure.
refuse to play defense, right? So, but no,
Yeah.
I kudos to him from that point of view. But yeah, I mean, what's transition to the midweek game? We haven't had one of these in a while, and we got our first win on the road this year. Swift feels pretty nice, right?
Yeah, nice to mix it up and have a midweek game, but it's only really nice because we were playing at home and didn't have to travel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we did travel. No. It was nice that we had a midweek game and we won. Actually, I should say.
So sorry, I have to just pull this up. I know we transitioned to Chicago, but I have to pull this up from Jake. Jake says, "Where was all the Nashville fans? They talked a big game, and then emoji tumbleweed." Dude, there was no Nashville fans in that stadium. Like there was maybe like 5 or
I
10, but the weather was nice. It usually would think that they would travel well because we travel well to Nashville. And I know their
Mhm.
supporter groups called the Roadies because it's music themed, everything like that too, but also Roadies travel and they were nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking. And I thought it was weird.
I know they're having a down year, but like it still seems weird that they would still not travel to good old Charlotte, North Carolina and get some Bojangles chicken, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and start talking about Chicago here a little bit. And we're not here to talk about deep dish pizza or Italian beef or anything like that. We're here to talk about Charlotte going up there into the Windy City and walking away with 3 points on the road, and getting our first win on the road this year as well. Interesting lineup, I thought a little bit too, because this was even a different lineup than what we saw Saturday against Nashville, right? So, what's your initial thoughts from what you saw here, and why do you think Dean made some of the changes, especially with like the back line defensively? What you saw in the midfield? What were some of those? Maybe if you could tap into Dean Smith's head, what do you think was going on in his mind for that game?
Well, Yuri Urin, picked up a slight knock, so you gotta make a change there. And instead of, maybe putting Burn on the left and Jalen on the right, they went with Yao Pedro. I think there is a big emphasis on playing the youngsters. You look at this game, and how many Crown Legacy guys played? 6, something like that. 6 of the 11 guys out there, I think, were from Crown Legacy, which is astonishing and kind of cool at the same time. So I think they wanted to use Yao Pedro again to give him some minutes, give him the opportunity to showcase what he can do. I think he had a mixed game, but again, he got some minutes under him, and that can only benefit.
And this was his second start of the game. So, can you explain to fans, or second start of the year so far for the first team? Can you explain? Because I know we were talking offline before the beginning of the show. Why wouldn't have Dean played either Jalen Lindsey there at left back or move Nathan Byrne over to the left back and then put Jalen at right back, et cetera, to kind of give a little bit more experience compared to having a younger player play, for so long and start on an away match.
I think you again want to invest in your future. You're playing a road game. You just come off of a home win. You got a home game coming up, so you need some rotation anyway. Um, and he ended up using Jalen. So I think again, it's just playing someone in their natural position, investing in your youth, giving them minutes, and seeing how they do, instead of doing what we did last year, just saying, I guess you can play over here, play out of position. Here you go. Go over there and go do your thing. Go do your best. So I mean, we have the personnel now that we can do that. Again, it wasn't Pedro's best night. There were a couple of things that I was getting pretty frustrated with, but overall, again, he didn't do anything horrible, and got some experience. And these types of games are going to be beneficial at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I know like he had a very successful Crown Legacy year. I think he was starting 11 for MLS Next Pro last
Best
year, and so
best 11, yeah.
best 11. Yep, and so obviously has talent, has potential there, and I think even early on, like we were even penciling him to be a competing spot against Andrew Privet before this even before the season started, to kind of come in and fight for that spot. But now Privet's definitely solidified it. But one thing that I noticed with Pedro was that, I mean, obviously he would push up and actually attack a little bit from that left back a little bit. But man, there were some opportunities with some of his balls, and there was one opportunity or one chance, I think, in the first half where he was trying to make a pass back or something like that, and Chicago intercepted it and almost tried to chip Kalina from that midfield line, and almost did so. It was a pretty dangerous situation, and I know development in these minutes will be really key for him long term, so that way he won't make mistakes like that in the long term, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You put him in a situation where he's going to learn, and again, have faith in him that when a natural left back goes out, you're not trying to replace him. You're not trying to put someone over Pedro that's not in that position. Because if you're a player and you see that the guys ahead of you is going to be out, you're gearing yourself up like, okay, this is my time. And if the coach puts someone else in, kind of shoehorns in that's not that position, that kind of knocks your confidence a little bit. So again, I think it's good that he was able to get those minutes, play, and have the coach kind of back him and say, all right, you're up. Show me what you got. So it's all good stuff. Like I said, getting these early minutes in now is going to be beneficial later on in the season when we might need him again.
So I know, and apologies, Swift, if this has been shared online. I did not get a chance to watch the game live because I was in a concert. But you're Ronan, right? He is out because I think he tweaked a groin or a hamstring or something like that. Any word on like the length of this? Like, what's the I guess the diagnosis for it, if you've heard anything? And I guess we have to maybe wait till Friday or Saturday before the game kickoff if we expect to see him this week against the Galaxy.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything yet. Dean's been very coy about injuries and things like that, which I actually appreciate. But yeah, I may know something a little more tomorrow. We might hear, but yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be available this weekend. So Pedro may get another opportunity to start.
Yeah, I saw that. I think he's getting MRIs, which is not a great sign. So to me, that might mean that they play it safe, and he's not going to be there this week if I had to do it. And Fenwick, even he just popped up here, says Dean said he's out for Saturday. So it's a bummer, but at least we've got some depth and some players starting to get some minutes, which is important. So we'll talk about the midfield a little bit, Swift. So we saw a little bit of a change. Petrovic came out and actually started again in this game. What'd you think about his play? And against Chicago, what'd you think about Junior Urso starting, and then Ashley Westwood as well against this matchup?
We really did not play well at all in that first half. We could not connect passes. I pretty much think all game long, and I want to say the commentary team mentioned this on the show, that Pekovic had run the most distance of anyone on the field, but he wasn't getting the ball where he needed to get the ball. He was running all over the place, and it's kind of a little bit like what England would do, running all over the place. But what does that get you? And if you can't get the ball and make a play and drive forward, your position is negated. So I just don't. I think it was too much of heaving the ball forward with no real intent. We didn't move the ball well. Didn't pass the ball well. We haven't passed the ball well. We just couldn't connect passes at all, especially that final pass. It was just really sloppy in the first half. I was very disappointed, and I was worried after the first half. I was like, oh boy, this is not ideal. But luckily, we held Chicago at bay. Again, going back to our defense, kept us in the game, even though we were struggling offensively. And then again, it's much like Nashville, we played good defense, and then we've got a moment of brilliance from a player, or basically two, because Patrick draws that foul, and then you have Ashley Westwood who knocks home that free kick. But it took a single moment of brilliance. It wasn't like a team goal, and we haven't scored a lot of team. We're not putting together 10 passes and then scoring. It's very much a one-on-one play, like with Patrick, or something from Vargas, something magical from Westwood. And that's a little worrying, but also kind of great. A win is a win. I don't care how ugly it is. And this was a very, very ugly win, but I'll take it.
The perfect way to put it. Win's a win, right? And I don't know what it is. Like we did a live show in Salud against New England Revolution, like one of the worst teams in MLS at the time, and we shit the bed. And then this game we were going up against on the road in Chicago against one of, I won't say the worst teams, but ranked statistically pretty low down there in MLS. And I don't know if we just played down or what. But I was a little worried seeing the first half. I was pulling my phone out during the concert just to see what the score was. And halftime we were 0-0. And I was like, ooh, this is not a great feeling right now to see what we have. But that's a good point, Jake. So Jake even put up here saying we haven't won these types of games for 2+ years. So that, or we have to rely on like a Carol Swiderski miracle comeback goal in Chicago to help us out. You know what I mean? So it's nice to be able to get these wins and I think we're fifth in the conference right now in the Eastern after this game. So it's a really great feeling.
Yeah, it's other than us winning the home opener, isn't this like the first time we've had a winning record? Like we've had more wins than draws and losses. Like I want to say it is. I could be wrong. Maybe someone can correct me, but
we need Ryan.
It might be. I mean, of course, we were 1-0 at the very beginning.
That doesn't count though. That's not. We can't use that for statistics there. But this is a good point. I wanted to bring this up. So Fat Bird, your buddy here, DJ, says that we're in 5th place right now with no DPs. And I know Brecht is technically a DP, just the way that we're spending the roster money right now. But he's not really a DP. It is what it is. But if you think about it, Abada's been hurt. We win last week against Nashville. We go against this game. Abada's still hurt. Enzo's out. Brecht's technically a DP, but whatever. Still not a DP playing in this game. Chicago has 2 or 3 DPs playing in this game as well, and Nashville had 3 DPs play. I think the MLS salary spend got posted online earlier today as well. We're bottom 5 in the league in terms of roster spend, but that's kind of skewed, right? Because of not having DPs on the roster and not having Abada potentially pop up on there when they pulled that report, et cetera. But how impactful and how well is that showing from Dean Smith? For one, coaching, but then also the scouts using legacy, identifying talent in the super draft, identifying talent from legacy and bringing them up, and being able to be competitive and impact already this part of the season. I remember a month or 2 ago, we were like, man, that's gonna be kind of rough if some of these players are out for a while. And now here we are in 5th heading into this stretch of May, or as the team likes to say, mayhem.
Yeah. It should make everybody feel good. I think it starts literally with Kleina. I think Kleina has had a better season. His distribution has vastly improved because that man loves to kick the ball out of bounds. Now, every once in a while, he has a mental lapse, but I think for the most part, he's definitely improved. His shot stopping has always been good, but I think his decision making with the ball has improved. And then you have Malanda and Privet who have developed this relationship from last year and now this year. I think that helps. And then you're not asking your outside backs to do something stupid, or you're not asking Andrew Privet to pinch into the middle. Dean's not asking people to do stupid things. So that helps. And we're able to be more compact in the back and more move as a cohesive unit. And that right there has done wonders for our team. That helps the midfield. That helps up front. And again, kind of to Jake's point, we haven't won those types of games in 2 years because we really haven't had multiple people step up. Now, we've been winning games by one-off plays, but it's not just one. It's not just Swiderski. It's Vargas. It's Patrick. It's Westwood. It's Pekovic, right? Just like moments of brilliance, but it's kind of spread around now too. And I think that's the huge difference. Now, if we have a DP that can actually create, good Lord, I think this is a dangerous team because we have all the other components. We're just missing, like the Chicago game, we're just missing someone that can link a pass, someone that can beat some players off the dribble, like in the middle of the field and not be scared to take people on. If we have that, man, we're gonna be solid.
Paul even put it in there agreeing with you. Kalina's been much more comfortable with the ball at his feet this year. And maybe it's because we're not trying to ask him to play a sweeper keeper role or trying to play out of the backfield and like all sorts of stuff. But anyways, yeah, it's interesting too because it's setting us up for a really big summer, right? And I think that came out with the Enzo Capetti announcement today was like with him being officially sold. The team even mentioned that we're really setting ourselves up for a big summer, right? To be able to spend wisely, but then spend and make it an impact for us. Because I guess in theory, like we could, depending on how Carroll, I don't think he comes back, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But if Carroll doesn't come back, we sell him. Enzo's now gone. We just have Leo Bada as that DP spot. Like how huge is that going to be come July that we can actually bring in 2 more players that could be a DP level striker, or a DP level cam, or who knows? Like, I mean, what the sky's the limit here for us. I just don't want us to spend on defense.
Well, you probably don't. I mean, don't really have to. I don't think spend on defense. Like when I say spend, I mean, you can go out and get additional players. You can move other players on. Like you look at Bill. Is Bill part of this team going forward? He's on a big. We pay him a lot to be a backup. I mean, do you maybe move him on, get someone in cheaper that frees up money, or you keep Bill? And if he's part of the plan, it's great. He could be a good sub if needed. So defensively, I think we're okay. I think you could probably make some moves, but I wonder someone like, what is Arfield's future here? Like he's someone, and I want to touch on a play, by the way, in this game that really irked me about him. But what's his future? What's that going to be like? And you might see someone like him move on. I don't know. I'm just using him as kind of an example. And like we just slowly but surely start stacking the team, getting better subs, building that pipeline. We still have folks in Crown Legacy that are can still come up. Brandon Cambridge is a good midweek game. So, yeah, lots of possibilities, and we're just going to keep bolstering the squad. It's just going to get better and better, I think.
That's the one thing that I don't want to say Scott Arfield stuck out to me a little bit, and you can touch on this play here in a minute. But like when I was looking at that roster spend, he's making just as much as a Bill Tuiluma, or he's making just as much as a Nathan Byrne almost. And is his impact as much of a Nathan Byrne, or is it more of an impact of a Bill? I love Scott. Like I think he's a good fit for the locker room and could be a good sub for us, et cetera. But from a roster spend and money spend, like last year, yeah, we definitely did to spend that to fix the locker room and bring in impactful players in the midfield, et cetera.
Sure.
But as you slowly, improve the roster build currently, like, is that long term? Probably not. I think he's what, 35, 36. Like, it's me out there playing.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's kind of my point too, and it's not a knock really on Scott. But can I put it in the chat, because I want to know if anybody noticed this, saw this, or maybe I'm just totally off on this. In the second half, we were leading and we're trying to kill the game off. There was a breakaway with Scott Arfield. He had Vargas to his left. So you have two guys on a breakaway. Arfield looked like me out there at, overweight, can, only good to play for like 10 minutes. Like, he looked like he just was like, no, you go ahead, youngster, you finish off this play. Like, he just kind of like tapped it to him instead of like running with the ball with Vargas to his left. So you have it. I was stunned, and I was like, is Arfield hurt? Did he tweak something? Like, it was really baffling to me, and I'm like, what happened? It was like, here, I don't feel like running down the field anymore. Here, you take it. And I don't think Arfield followed up the play at all.
That's like being in Sunday League, man.
Yeah, I mean, like in Arfield as a professional and has all this experience. I mean, if he was going to do that, just take the ball to the corner flag yourself. If you're not going to try to finish that, but it was so weird. And I was like, am I crazy? Like, it was so very strange. I don't know what happened there.
Wow, there's some comments here. Thanks, Corey. So
good.
I'm gonna cue you up here, Corey. So I'm guessing this is Zach here. So Zach says, yes, it was crazy. Fatbird said that, yeah, he laid it off to Vargas. Zach also made two more comments. I want to pull them up. One, couldn't believe he just stopped. He hadn't been there for 10 minutes. And then his last one, I just had to chuckle here a little bit.
Weird.
And Enzo would never.
He wouldn't. Enzo wouldn't. He would have kept going. Like, it was just so. I honestly, I was like, I thought maybe he got hurt. It was so bizarre, and it was very disappointing. I was very disappointed in that whole thing. I'm like, here's your chance to pull this game off, like get another goal, and it looked very much like Sunday beer league. Like, here, I can't run any further. I'm going to puke my beer up now.
It was me.
It's so strange.
It's me leaving the Sum 41 concert on Wednesday night and then going out on a pitch and trying to run. But no, I have to watch that back because I haven't finished watching the game live yet or anything like that. So I'll have to queue up that play here for a minute. But even Michael said, like, I knew exactly about what you're talking about this. I thought the same thing. He looked winded or tired potentially. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully Scott, I mean, he's a professional. He's, he's been able to do it. So we'll see if he bounces back hopefully this weekend. So, because I thought he looked okay when he subbed in on the Nashville game. Him and Petrovic up there on the top together, kind of a weird 4-4-2. And I thought him and Nikola was bouncing off pretty well and kind of holding off Nashville. And I guess that maybe had been what Dean's, thought process was. But yeah, that doesn't sound like it was a good situation there.
Yeah, I honestly, when we put in Arfield and Brecht and they were on the field at the same time, I got a little worried because I didn't think, we had the lead. Now, if we didn't have the lead, okay, both of those in there, and yeah, go for it. But we had the lead, and putting those two on at the same time, just I got extremely worried because defensively they're both suspect. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know what was up with that play, but hopefully that's just a one-off thing.
So I have to pull this up, and this is just context and a little backstory here for a second. Swift Fenwick says the Scottish ladies are gonna get, and he just says gonna, because I don't know if you guys ever see this, but there's a Facebook group with like soccer for Charlotte FC, and there's a very, very strong following for Scotty Arfield from the Scottish ladies from his time at Rangers, right? And so whenever he is like featured or random, they just post random things like, that's our lad, all sorts of things. So the ladies who are Scotty
They-
fans, we are very sorry in advance. So
They get really mad too when he doesn't play. They're like, if you're not going to play him, we'll take him back home with us. I like to pretend that that's actually his agent. That one of the ladies is actually his agent. And
you do. You actually have me
really
pulled
mad
one
on
time
Facebook
because you
and
told me
tells
there's a
everybody he
story
should
that
play.
Yeah, you told me a story one time that it was his agent, and I believed you for half a second, and then
I didn't make up this elaborate story that she was his agent.
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, let's talk about the highlight of that Chicago game. So I guess two. I'll talk about clean the save here in a minute, but talk about that Westwood goal, man. What do you think about that free kick? When's the last time we scored off of a free kick like that? And like, what do you think about the placement, Westwood shot, et cetera, and then the play leading up to that foul?
Well, the play leading up to that was awesome, and again, like Patrick just being an absolute menace, and just getting in good spots and just forcing people to foul him. The position was great. I was getting, and I was and still kind of irked at how bad we are at corners and free kicks. I don't know who our free kick coach is. I don't understand some of the positioning and what we're doing. Does anybody notice that like Pekovic kept coming, like he would be like 10 yards from the ball, but then he would peel off, and it made no sense. It makes no sense what the run he was making. Like he was pulling himself completely out of the play. Like none of it makes sense. So I was getting frustrated with like what we do on free kicks and corners, but luckily we got a good position on the field, and Westwood was able to, be the hero and be the captain and step up when needed and use his experience. And that was just right in his wheelhouse, luckily. So it was a great goal.
He has what, 2 goals for the season so far now? He had that one banger, it was like a volley, and then he had this one now. So
does he have 2 or 3?
Well, if it's 3, he actually might have 3. I can't remember, but it's either 2 or 3. But I was gonna make a bad joke and say that's 2 more than our former DP had. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh boy.
So, no, sorry. I'm just kicking someone while they're down, so I shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, I mean, so when you looked at that free kick, and then like the way we were trying to kill the game off, Kalina really stepped up big at the end of that game, right? He made a lot of
Oh my God.
saves, like really pulled it out of his ass a little bit to help keep us and walk away with 3 points there, right?
Unbelievable save. He wasn't called upon much that night, but again, he's always been a good shot stopper. But yeah, I mean, that could have very easily been a 1-1 draw. And the difference, individual plays, people coming up big time.
Sorry, I'm laughing because Paul says the Argentinian ladies are gonna because of me making fun of Enzo. So I made fun of Scott. Now we made fun of. I know. I'm just putting a target on my back here. So, this is a good question here, Matt. Since you were just talking about, Michael says, "What is it going to take to get better on corners and set pieces? Like, what do you do? Like, because at this point, it is kind of like you draw up some plays. You do have practice for this. Like, what do you do to kind of improve that for us as a team?"
I honestly don't know, because we have height on our team. We just don't use it. We don't set up properly. It's just weird. And like I said, if you can go back and watch the game, David, when you go back and watch the game on these corners, watch Pekovic. Like we have a corner and he comes to like he's going to get the ball from the guy taking the corner, but then he peels off just completely out of the box. Why? Like, what purpose do you serve there? Now, if you're getting back on defense, maybe that's one thing, but like, watch it and see. Just I don't understand what we're doing half the time. And then normal free kicks, I think we're horrible at them. So that's something that I think we need to improve on. Yuri was out too. He's been taking free kicks a lot. So and corners. Westwood, I got to admit, is not the best corner taker. So Yeah, just something to improve on, but that's okay.
It sounds like they're
We can get better.
using FIFA 23, FIFA 24 mechanics on calling corner plays, right? Where the AI just makes them run and
Mm.
just stand around. So
It's
maybe
just
we need to get some more better FIFA players coming in. So um, awesome, man. Well, anything else stand out to you from the Chicago game before we kind of start transitioning a little bit to LA Galaxy or even Q&A a little bit?
No, let's get to this Galaxy matchup.
Yeah. So looking ahead, um, Charlotte's going to be taking on LA Galaxy. I think this is what our second time playing them at home. We played them as our inaugural game,
Mhm.
first game of the year, and now we're playing them again. So how is the Galaxy from a matchup perspective, and how are they doing this year? I don't know how much work or pre-work you've done looking into them, but what do you think?
Yeah, so, Galaxy sit 5th in the West. They are 2nd in the league in goals. They have 25 on the year. I think that's right behind Miami or behind Miami. They are 5th in XG, if that is a stat that you like. Some people don't. They are 3rd in shots on target, something to be mindful of. They are 2nd in passing percentage. They do not like to play long balls, and Ricky Puig, their number 10 has the most touches in the league, in the whole entire league. So it's someone that we want to limit. But I think aside from it's either 2 or 3 games, they have won the possession game. They love to possess the ball. That's their thing. Like I said, they're not going to play a lot of long balls. They're going to try to play short. So just something to kind of keep in mind. Um, I I honestly wonder if we'll play a similar kind of lineup that we did against Nashville to kind of shut that down. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see something similar there. Let's see. The kind of the good thing for us is that they just had to travel midweek to Minnesota, and now they have to come here. So that's good. Um, LA is 7th in the league with goals allowed. So that's kind of good news for us. They allow 21 goals. So they're only like +4 goal differential. Um, LA does not foul a lot. I think but they are 3rd in the league in fouls suffered. So they've only received, I think, 19 yellow cards. And if you want to have a frame of reference, we have 36. So quite a big
Yikes!
difference there.
Yikes!
Now they've had 3 red cards though. But yeah, they don't foul a lot. They don't get carded a lot, but they do get fouled quite a bit themselves. So yeah, I think again it's much like Nashville. Take out their number 10, make sure they don't get service up top. And that's why I'm thinking you could possibly see something very similar to what we saw against Nashville.
Fatbird says 19. That's us in the first half on a Saturday night. So, two things. I just love this picture of Fatbird because it's literally just a really fat bird, like roosting there for a second. But Westwood needs to finish, I think, what, 1 or 2 more games with no yellow cards, or if he gets a yellow card the next game or two, he'll have to serve a game suspension for yellow card accumulation. Correct?
I think so. I would have to look. I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly what he's on. If someone wants to look it up and put it in the comments, that would be awesome. But yeah, it's something to look out for.
So Landon Fire says if they don't foul Pat, they're going to have some issues. So I think that's going to be something that kind of, helps us out here is that they do have a lot of goals against, right? And then you have Pat, who is very physical and demanding there in the middle, creating chances, being physical on the ball, off the
Mhm.
ball. And then we're playing at home. Should be a good matchup for us against LA, correct?
That's right. Absolutely.
Awesome, man. So, what do you think from a score prediction? Like, how are you feeling for LA? I know we've got soccer and coffee coming up this weekend, everything like that. But how are you feeling from a score prediction? Do you think we walk away with a win this time against LA in Charlotte, or do you think we walk away with a draw or a loss?
I think we do the old flippity flop. We get them and beat them 1-0 at home. I think with our defense and the way we might come out and play, I think this would be very much a shut them down, and then one of our key players makes a good play and finishes something off.
It's like the Michael Scott meme, like the snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap, going back and forth. So that is every time you say the old flippity flop, I just think of that meme of him, going like
Yeah.
that. So if we can flip it on LA, that'd be fantastic. Cause I definitely want some revenge for ruining our inaugural game at home. Almost 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I think we got a fun question here about LA. If you want to pull this up here, Corey, right, Swift, to kind of kick us off here a little bit from the Galaxy talk, before we transition to Q&A.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let me get Corey to pull this question up. I think it's from Greg Fenwick here, about something about the Galaxy. So give me 1 second here.
Yeah.
So Fenwick says, in the spirit of playing the Galaxy on Saturday, what is your favorite planet, Swift? And I'd love to. I'll share mine in just a second, but I'd love to hear what yours is here in just a minute.
Well, it's funny that you ask, Greg. My favorite planet is Uranus. And speaking of Uranus, guys, we have a new show sponsor. And it's no coincidence that I am wearing episode brought by Manscaped, the leaders in the below the waist grooming and keeping those crown jewels looking good. It's almost Father's Day. Maybe your pops had a bush since the 1970s, and that's okay. But our friends at Manscaped have crafted the total package. Get it? Total package. And on this special day, whether it's your crown jewels, beard, or even the best pair of underwear out there, Manscaped has all the bases covered. So head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with our code CORNDOG. Now, let me say this. This is not a joke. Manscaped is our sponsor. And the code is CORNDOG. You can go to their site right now. And please, the more you guys go to the website and buy stuff, like they'll pay us millions of dollars. That part is probably a lie. The truth is, Manscaped is, I know this sounds absurd. I know what you're saying. Like, is this real? It's absolutely real. Manscaped is sponsoring the show. David has a Manscaped shirt on right now. They sent us some products. And seriously, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping. Use that code CORNDOG and take care of your crown jewels, guys. I mean, yes. So Uranus, back to Uranus. What do you got, David?
So I just have to say a few comments here because, first of all, amazing ad read there, Swift. I just have to give you big kudos for that and keeping it going the entire way. But we are proud to be brought to you by Manscaped. Make sure you check us out. And I just love that they let us. Here's how much they actually get the show a little bit. They let us pick our own promo code, and of course, we had to use CORNDOG. So, and they let us do that. So go to manscaped.com and use CORNDOG. But few comments here, Swift. Paul Hagen wants to know what the F is happening right now. It's a perfect segue here for us. But
what's happening is your crown jewels are going to thank you, Paul, when you go sign up for Manscaped, and you could get 20% off plus free shipping when you put in CORNDOG. So maybe while you're watching the show or maybe afterwards, yeah, that is what is happening. Your balls are being freed.
There you go. Well, I think that's just the perfect transition here for a second because we'll transition to the Q&A. But I just love that Fenwick had no idea about this, and he asked the question, and we were like, that is going to be our introduction and segue into introducing our new sponsor of the show. So Let's actually bring Corey up here now for the actual fan Q&A. So, but I will answer the question. My favorite planet is Saturn, just because I always like the rings. It's not Uranus. Sorry, Swift. But Saturn was my favorite planet. So, but welcome to the show, Corey.
Just I don't know how to follow. I don't know how to follow that. That was beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed the comments in the chat as we were watching that ad read happen. And I also enjoyed how Matt would straight-faced read some of these things and then after a second's reflection be ashamed of himself. It was really good. Just watching you go through all the emotions of that was really enjoyable to me. So I really appreciate this.
Hold on. I just have to read this comment right here. Richard Clark says, Saturday at 9 a.m. a live demo of soccer and manscaping for our new sponsors. So Richard, I think I speak for everyone. We will not do a live demo unless I do my beard. So
I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, but we were brainstorming some things about David doing some live streams. I don't know what's gonna happen. We're just spitballing some things, so we'll see. But I also appreciated that Matt had to say, because I know it's real, but in the moment of you reading it and seeing it, I'm like, this seems really fake and like a joke. And so I'm glad we had emphasized, like, no, this is an actual real thing. Please. Yes, the code is corn dog. They let me use corn dog as the promo code. So, all right. We'll move on from that and get to our fan Q&A here, which we already did one of those. All right. Let's start with David. And as always, we've got some from earlier in the chat, but if you have any additional questions, please throw them in the chat. We will get to them as well, but we'll start with some of the ones we got from before the show started, and we'll do David Kelly first. We still appear to have trouble scoring, but our recent success appears to be defense related. Is our current offensive performance sustainable if our defense continues to perform? How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I think if we keep struggling to score, I think you'll see some 0-0 draws. I think, we'll drop some points here or there. But I don't think that that's going to be the case. Again, we've talked about getting reinforcement. So I think to be where we are before the summer window is really, really great stuff. But I mean, defense wins championships. That's kind of always been the mantra of pretty much every sport. You gotta keep goals out of the back of the net. And so far we've been able to do a really good job with that. And I think that's been the difference this year.
Yeah, agreed. David, anything else?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add on to it, I think in the league you've seen that defense does help support that space, right? Nashville got into the playoffs and was top 5 in the East one year when they drew the most drew the most games ever in MLS, right? Just because they couldn't score, but they also didn't let teams score on them, right? So I think that's a huge boost for us. I am a little concerned on the offensive output, just if you compare our goals compared to the teams that are above us in the East or even in the West, we're lagging behind on the goals scored a little bit. But I think having Pat be a solidified starter, being consistent, having a DP be brought in during the summertime that's a cam or a striker, et cetera, I think that's going to do wonders for us. And if we can just keep the defense the same, which I think we're top 5 in goals allowed, if we maintain that pace, we'll finish really strong this year.
Yeah, to your point, I think I'd be more concerned if we were fully stocked offensively, and we just are clearly not, right? Like, even Abada, who's on the roster, hasn't played several matches, so I'm not as worried about the offense knowing that we have some roster room to play around with. And if we do some things right in the summer, can fix that, but we've got a good base to start from. So I just have to throw this up because I think it was funny. Gus looks like Mr. T right now, and he honestly has a little bit of that vibe going on with the hair.
Do I? Is it? Well, I think it's because I have a very bad receding hairline, is what it actually is.
I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah,
I'll say it. I have a very bad receding hairline, and with me cutting the hair short, it kind of looks like I'm doing a mohawk on purpose, but that's not what I'm trying to do. So
it's not on purpose; it's all accident. All right. Related question from Russell. So we talked about how the defense has been the core of what we've been doing and how this team has had a lot of success. So Russell Varner asks, in your opinion, what has made the defense so much better this year than in years past? I'll start with you this time, David.
Coaching. I don't want to oversimplify it, but like it's the same defense that we had last year.
Yeah.
Exact same defense towards the second half of the year, right? Obviously, we had a left back get brought on with Yuri, but I think coaching is big on that. And I think having consistency in starters as well. Privet stepped up, getting comfortable in role. Milanda's a beast. Nathan Bird's played lights out since Leagues Cup last year, and and having a player like Yuri come in has been really helpful. So, and I think Clean has made good saves. And I think that's also made the defense look a little bit better on statistically too. So anything else you would add on that, Swift?
Other than, like we were saying, the coach not asking players to do extra things that they shouldn't. I would also say the midfield has played better defense. And, when you have people in front of you that don't do stupid things and give the ball away in really bad positions and immediately put your defense under pressure. So I think just team defense, and that means the wingers too. I think team-wise, we're playing better defense.
Yeah. And that, again, I think to David's point comes back to the coaching and the tactics. It's much smarter about how we're defending. So, awesome. All right, I'm going to jump to this one from Matt Chantry. Are you reevaluating your season expectations after the recent results? Matt.
I don't think so. Remember, don't get too high, don't get too low. I think at the beginning of the season, I felt like we were a 5th or 6th place team. I still feel like we're kind of that now, and that's where we are. If we add another piece, I think we kind of can get into that top 3. Unless Miami falters, I mean they've really taken off. We'd have to gain a lot of points there, but that's okay. I mean, I would love to get a home playoff game, so I'd love for us to bolster the squad and get into that 3 or 4th place position. But I still think I'm still kind of sticking with 5th or 6th right now, and because I don't know who we're going to get. Maybe I do know who we're going to get. Maybe I don't. I don't know.
Stop teasing us and not tell us who it's going
to. I'm gonna throw some water balloons at you at the next tailgate just for you doing that again. So
I just like doing that, guys. I just like doing that.
Man, I'm gonna start saying that just to see if anyone ever believes me too. No one will believe me, but I'm just gonna say it. So I think my expectations are kind of still the same. I don't want to get too high. I think where we're at right now, I think is what I kind of expected us to be peaked at going into preseason, just because I kind of thought rebuilding year, new coach, no idea if the DPs are going to work out. At the beginning of the season, we still had Carol, Camille, and Enzo as our DPs. So who knew what that was going to look like, right? So the fact that we've moved on from some bad deals, we've moved on from some DPs that weren't working out is a plus for me. We've played better defensively. Again, another plus for me. And we're being competitive in the top half of the table. Again, another win. So for me, as long as we can maintain this, I'll be super happy. Now, ask me in July if we go out and get some big DP names or something like that. I might be sailing high and have a little bit more higher expectations at that point, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, agreed. All right. Let's go to the next one, which is from Eric Hill. Let me pull this up here. So Eric asks, Pat always seems to be on the wrong end of poor foul calls more than any of our other players, either by getting called for a foul even if he barely touches the opponent, or not getting the call when the opponent clearly fouls him. Can this be fixed, or just something Pat and Dean will have to live with? I guess we start with you this time, David, I believe.
So I'm probably the wrong one to start with because I have no idea. So I would say, I mean, I think his size probably plays against him a little bit, because if you look at how big he is compared to some of the players that he's going up against, unless he's going up against Walker Zimmerman every week, it's going to look like he's bullying them and being more physical and being more physicality, right? landed in the chat says Pat gets the Cam Newton treatment a little bit, just from his size and everything like that. So I think that's a good analogy there. So I wish I kind of thought of that. So thanks, Landon Fire. Appreciate it. But no, I think that's the only thing we can do. I don't think you can fix that unless you get experience in the league and you understand and you get used to the refs and I don't want to say you kind of build a relationship with the refs, but you can know who you can work and who you can't work. Right. And so unless Swift has some secret sauce here that I don't know about.
Pay the refs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think I will say Patrick is a little and it's something I kind of wish he'd work on a little bit. He likes to grab and pull players because I've been watching that closely. So I kind of hope he calms that down a little bit. But yeah, I think he's just going to have to deal with getting non-calls against him. I hope that he doesn't get frustrated. I think he was against Chicago, but I think he's going to have to get used to that. I think he's going to just have to get used to not getting calls, getting things called against him. But I do kind of want him to work a little bit on not being so grabby because he tends to do that.
Yep. I'll pull up Elliot's comment here too, because I think it's related to what you just said, is that he's still young and has a lot to learn, says Elliot Fox. Teron got in his head and stayed there till the final whistle, which I think is to your point, Matt. Like he was you could tell Pat was getting frustrated, and that's exactly what Teron wanted to happen, was to get him frustrated, get him to be in that headspace, and that can kind of mess with the player there. So I think, as he learns and grows and realizes that he's not going to get those calls, but to push through and play anyway, I think that'll help a lot. But I'm glad someone said it in the comments too, because it's definitely what I consider the Cam Newton effect. Like it's just when you're a big, strong guy like that, when you're a quarterback built like a linebacker, that you're not going to get the same kind of calls. All right, let's move on to the next question from Brian Duncan. Pull this up here. Since it's now official that Enzo is gone, what are your final thoughts on the matter, Matt?
I put this in Slack earlier. We've been, pretty critical of Enzo, but sometimes the team and the situation is just not a good fit. I used Christian Pulisic as an example. His time at Chelsea was not good, but then he goes to a totally different team in a totally different league and having a great time. Just sometimes it's not the team's fault. It's not the player's fault. It just could be the situation that he's in. He did not do well here, I don't think. He didn't have a good first season. Attitude was kind of an issue for me last year. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt this year. I thought his attitude was better. Work rate was good. But you're here to score goals, and you weren't even getting a lot of shots off. So it's working. So sometimes you can scout a player and be really high on them and think they're going to work out, and you get them here and they just don't for whatever reason. And then, guys, one of the things that kind of frustrates me is when we have a former player go to a different team, if they ever have a good game anywhere else, it's like, see, if we would have kept him at Charlotte FC, I'm come on, man. Players are going to have good games elsewhere. Just because they had a good game here doesn't mean they should have been a starter here. So it's just, it happens all over the globe, man. Players go to teams and it just does not work. So I wish him the best of luck. I'm glad we're moving on. I think we have Pat, and that's great. And now we can go out and get some players will hopefully fit in a little better and perform better.
How about you, David?
I don't really have too much more to add to it, but I will say just on the Enzo thing, I still think that he could have been successful in the league. I think he has the tools to do it if he was going to. I just don't know if it was the right fit. So like Swift said, it just doesn't work out sometimes. So I have no ill will towards Enzo. He didn't do anything to kind of be like, screw that guy, I hope he doesn't ever do well again kind of mentality. You know what I mean? But even Zach just put in here and if you want to pull it up, but he says our former players almost never have great games or good games. So we have them every once in a while. I think Camille and Sergio Ruiz has had a good game here and there. I don't know whatever happened to TT Ortiz. Who knows? McCoon, Alan Franco. The list can go on and on and on. So we'll see. I think Carroll's had a decent game here and there in Italy every once in a while. So, but no one leaves us and burns up the world. So that's a whole other conversation.
I would like to address everybody's jokes in the comments about my internet. I don't know what's going on, so I do apologize for my connection tonight. Thanks for staying with us. It might be my computer too, so I do apologize. Jeremy, I did see your comment about buying less jerseys and
I wasn't going to call you on it, but this is the best comment. Is Jeremy saying maybe if Matt buys one less jersey a month, the upgrade can be real. That made me.
Oh, Jeremy, that's a good one. So it's all good.
All right, we're good. All right, let's keep moving through. So we got a few more questions. Russell Varner asks, Bender obviously killed it in his debut with Latanzio. Do you see him coming to take minutes from Petkovic in that attacking midfielder role? David.
So I kind of was thinking this a few weeks ago when Bender was starting to get closer to being healthy. And I know Swift, we were talking like we didn't really know where he could fit in or have minutes. And, that's the one role where we haven't really solidified a starter every game yet. And so I do think that if Bender can come back healthy, that would be his opportunity of where he can get minutes. Is that role, unless we get a huge DP in the summertime or something like that, right? But Bender's got a ways to go. He played one game for Legacy last night. He's got to rehab, get in game shape, etc. It's not like next week he's going to be ready to go and play 90 minutes for us in that role. So I'm not expecting much, but if there is a role for him on this team, I do think that's probably what it is, because he's not a defender. He's not going to be a Ashley Westwood or Deani back there, that style, or Derek Jones that we used to have. He's going to be someone that can create and cause a little bit of havoc and poke some balls and, get them into the net, hopefully, for us here in within that space. But Swift, what do you think about Bender from that point of view?
I'm glad he had a great game. It's good to see him back. It is, like you were saying, it is one game. So let's, again, take it easy. Let's see what he does next. I think Bender has put on some muscle and some weight, which I actually like, because I thought one of Ben's knocks was he's a little, skinny and easy to knock around. So I'm glad he looks like he's beefed up a little bit. So that's great. But again, I just, it's one game. It's Crown Legacy. It's MLS Next Pro. I just let's see what he can do next and get going. And again, he could be someone that we could potentially use down the road.
It's those pizzas he's baking that he keeps posting on Instagram is why he's beefing up, Matt. He's sprinkling some protein powder. It's not Parmesan cheese. It's protein powder directly on those pizzas. And he's, jacking up and getting big that way. But
and I appreciate y'all just rolling with it in the comments, calling me for it. When I saw CL, I immediately went to Latanzio in my brain. I don't know why. I should expel that from my brain, that I don't associate CL with that. That obviously meant Crown Legacy. So thank y'all for just rolling with it and not.
We were trying to be good teammates here.
I appreciate it.
And we were playing with it.
We're all looking out for each other. Oh boy. All right. This happens. We do 2 shows in a week. My brain can't handle it. All right. Brad Jackson is the next question I'll pull up. What are your thoughts on our young players? I have heard you all talk about the youngsters a lot, but do you think that is really going to help us win this year? Matt.
So far, so good. Like I said, we have 6 Crown Legacy players out there. Not only are we doing okay now, they're all only gonna get better. I think they'll benefit again for having, when this summer we'll go get more folks. I think we're really built, for long term here. You think about most of our players, aside from like an Arfield, and everybody is relatively sort of young in a way. Brecht's kind of up there, but again, I would say Brecht and Arfield are players that you're probably going to think about moving on pretty soon anyway. Then you got, maybe Nathan Byrne later, but for the most part, we're a pretty young team, which is also really exciting. And then we have all the guys like I think Brandon Cambridge, Scardina, other players that are on Crown Legacy. I think Scardina scored Wednesday too, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I think the future's bright. The kids are doing well and holding their own, and not only holding their own, just like kicking some ass. Like Andrew Privet is a young kid, like a super draft guy, and like just kicking the shit out of people. It's awesome to see.
Now I'm just imagining Privet literally kicking the shit out of people, just like kicking them while they're down. But no, it's no. I think the young guys, like I agree with you, Swift. I think that they do help us this year because it gives us depth for these schedule congestion games, and then it does help us be more competitive in things like Leagues Cup. I know a lot of fans are going to be like, well, Leagues Cup, but we have depth now that can compete in Leagues Cup and then not worry about it being detrimental to the rest of the season. Right. So I think it helps us. It's great long term. And I think that's, I mean, I hate to say it, but like that's kind of what the front office wanted to do a little bit, is make something that's sustainable, not just a splash in the pan like St. Louis, and actually make them sustainable and show, improvement. So, here we are.
Nice little dig there. I like it.
All right. A little bit.
All right, Russell Varner. All-star voting, I imagine, will be starting soon. If you had to pick one representative from the team, who would you pick and why, David?
That's tough. So I really want us to have someone this year. I think we actually have the potential to have someone, or should have someone on the team this year. I'm going to say Melanda would be the one that I would say would be the bigger name, someone that can come in and do that. I think that's probably the likelihood of that. I don't know. I don't know if there was an up and coming team. I would say Privet would be on that one. Pat could be on that one, up and coming from that perspective. But kind of like the NBA does like the Future Stars game or something like that.
Yeah,
that's where I think Privet and Pat could come in and play for that. But I think Melanda would be the one that should probably get the nod and be an all-star. It'd be great. It'd be awesome to have someone on our team be an all-star.
How about you, Matt?
I think one of the unfortunate things about our team and our market is that it's gonna be hard for us to have that outstanding player. I think Swiderski was close. If he would have scored more, I think he would have had the potential to be that. But like, if you look at this team, who is not just a good player, but they have to be a standout player. And like, look, MLS has like certain players and even teams that they're like the darling. It would not shock me at all if Heine Mukhtar is an all-star and he has not done jack shit all year. But like, everybody loves Heine Mukhtar. Messi could play a game and he's going to be an all-star. So it's just like, it's like one of those things, like, defensively, you said Melanda. I guarantee Walker Zimmerman will be an all-star.
There's no reason. But yeah, exactly.
I
mean, but it's all name recognition. Sure. And then you have the U.S. men's national team bump where people are going to be like, oh, I recognize that one from the U.S. team. And then they're going to vote for those players. It's the same thing for like the Pro Bowl for NFL. People just vote off name recognition and team market versus anything else.
Yeah.
Because I see, a comment about Kalina. Unfortunately, Kalina won't be an all-star because you have like Andre Blake and like the Sean Johnsons and like, so I mean, I think Melanda's a good shout out because defensively we might be able to get someone in. I unfortunately, like Patrick Ogmain, he could still have a good season. I just don't see him getting over most people. By the way, everybody that is still clowning me for my internet, how about you go to manscaped.com and order some stuff?
The best part of this is like his internet's breaking up worse than ever as he's trying to plug this to go pay for Manscaped to get his internet better.
Unbelievable.
Remember the promo code's corndog. Go. This is basically a GoFundMe for Matt to get better internet. All right. Yeah. Thanks for throwing the comment there, David.
There you go. You're welcome.
All right. Sounds good. All right. I'm going to jump to a couple of questions from the comments that we've seen come through. There's been some more kind of follow-up questions around the young players. So I'm going to pull up a couple of those from Paul Hagen. Says, is there another club who has been as successful as we have been with their next pro/academy to first team pipeline? I know this is kind of putting y'all on the spot, but do y'all, can you think of any other examples of teams that have done this well, like Charlotte seems to be doing right now?
I don't know if MLS Next Pro, because it's so new, but
Sure.
like teams like Dallas and Philadelphia have had huge success with their academies and players moving up and also selling players, right? So, I mean, Dallas sells them before they can get minutes MLS, before they can help their team out. But that's the only two I could think of, unless Swift, you know something else.
No, those two teams are exactly who I was going to say. I think they've had some success, but I would say we might be up there as best. I don't see any other having that much success with it.
So,
well, and I think so. Sorry, Corey. I was going to say I think that's also the point for, like, we poached a guy from Philadelphia to help with our academy and MLS Next Pro and identifying talent and being on that side of that, growth. Like, we want to grow that way. It's beneficial for one, like local talent, et cetera. Carolinas have been a hotbed for soccer for a very long time. But then two, it's also financially smarter. If you can find talent locally and develop them and grow them up, you're going to pay less for the talent. You can also sell them, flip them, make money off of that space, and it helps the club long term versus having to always go, which what we're kind of doing in the first team internationally, buy a bunch of international spots and also fill them with international players and spend more versus being able to kind of do it, internally. And I know Philadelphia is having a kind of a wishy-washy year right now, but they've had success long term with it, and they've had the history of it.
Yeah. So kind of the flip side of this question, I think, a little bit, and what we've been talking about is there's a couple of questions that I feel like are related. So I'm going to pull up a couple of them. I'm assuming this is Lad on Fire or something like that. Lad on Fire. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm just going to guess. Question is, having 3 DPs on the field a real thing, or is that a carrot they just keep dangling? We're right now in 5th place with none of them. What would this team look like with 3 DPs who play 75% of the games? And related to that, Kevin Hoffer asks, I love the young depth, but when does it become an issue? If we bring in those 3 DPs, those youngsters aren't seeing the fields. So his question is more about which Crown Legacy, I got it this time, CL, Crown Legacy guys do you see being around long term? But yeah, I guess the ultimate question, kind of combining those two up, is saying, yes, we have all this young talent that's playing really well. It's working right now, but it's because we don't have those DP spots filled. We don't have those big guys that we should be bringing in this summer. Is there a worry about how you mix those 3 DPs in as they become available into this squad and make it kind of work cohesively together? I'll start with Matt this time.
I think it's a good problem to have. I think if you look at the positions that we need, so let's start with Cam. So let's say we did go get a DP Cam. That means a player like Pegovic could be on the bench, which he kind of is now. Brecht was there. I'm hate to be mean, but I'm perfectly okay with him sitting on the bench, and or Arfield. So maybe again, I look at Arfield as he the team long term anyway. Brecht, for me, he's kind of hit or miss anyway. So you could have a situation where you go get your Cam, and then you have Pekovic sitting behind him, still getting minutes. You still need subs. You still have midweek games. So I think you're okay there. Say you get a striker. Patrick has been sharing time with Enzo anyway. I don't know if Patrick can go and play 90 minutes every week anyway. So I think I'll be pretty good with that situation. And again, Patrick's going to learn and develop. And so I don't really see a concern there. I look at Tavares, he's kind of in behind either Vargas or Abada, and that kind of takes care of itself. And again, how you win championships is having a full squad, not just a good starting 11. So when we do have midweek games or someone gets injured, you have someone that's equally as good come in, or you have some ability when you're playing different teams and you can give them different looks. I think it's all good.
Yeah. David, anything to add?
No, I agree everything that Swift said. I mean, it's a good problem to have, and I think it's also the process of you slowly upgrading the roster. And then the reality too is like the DPs we bring in, most guys that come in as DPs aren't like long-term people that usually stay in the league. That's not their goal usually. Like, and we kind of, I mean, yes, you do have them every once in a while, but you kind of want to paint this picture of, hey, come play for us and we'll help you get to that next stepping stone in your career as a DP. So like for me, the shelf life of a DP is usually 2 to 3 years. I don't expect them to be here and block, Petrovic or Pat or, Pedro or whoever coming in and blocking their development, because 2 years flies by really quick. I mean, hell, 2 years ago, we were talking about our first home game. You know what I mean? So, and look how different the roster is from 2 years ago compared to now. So I think it's a good problem to have in some regard.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Couple of things I'm just going to pull up. Not really questions, just some comments from earlier that I wanted to throw out there. Elliot, I remember this from the broadcast too. Elliot Fox points out that Sam Lloyd multiple times during the broadcast against Chicago was saying that CLTFC has to hit on the next DP. It's got to be the right move. We've had too many times where we've thought we were bringing the right guy in and it hasn't worked out. Basically all of the DPs have been in that. About is too early to tell, but at least the other ones, maybe with the exception of Swiderski, hasn't really worked out. So there's that. And then let's see, one of the other ones from Fatbird says, how enjoyable is it to have a manager who is willing and able to make tactical changes depending on the opponent, and us having the depth to do so instead of being stubborn with a lineup because of a win? Just leave that out there, because yes.
Just let that marinate. Just let that marinate for a second,
All right. And then one more from Michael, which I think this is true too. He says, I always chuckle at Pat. He goes from looking like he's about to trip over the ball and fall on his face, and then boom, he's running full steam downfield. And I feel like this too. Like he looks very awkward in the moment, and all of a sudden, like when he gets ahead of steam, there's no one stopping him. He's like
a gazelle, man. He's like a gazelle. It's like, oh shit, I gotta stumble and get going for a second. But once he gets into his his stride, he's gone. Like you're not getting past him. And but I do have to laugh. There are times where he kind of looks like he fumbles over his feet or the ball a little bit. But I think that's time and experience a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. So that's fun to watch. All right. Last couple of questions before we head out of here. We've been going for a good hour and a half now, so about time to wrap it up. So 2 more questions. The first one from Becca Mitchum. If CLTFC played one game internationally, where would it be and who would it be against? You might have their answer ready to go. I won't call on you unless you're ready.
Yeah, I'll share mine.
All right, go ahead, David.
So I want them to play Eichmann Frankfurt just because it's Bundesliga. I want to go to Germany. It would give me a real good reason. It's also like I'm a passive fan of theirs. During COVID, I was like, I needed a team to cheer for. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let me look at my ancestry. And like Gusler's German, looked him up. Closest team to where my ancestors have been found was near Frankfurt. So I'm like, okay, there's a team there that, I want to watch. And so plus I also selfishly just want to see German supporters live because let me tell you, they are in like whole nother level I wish that we could be at. So I just want to see that and have a Charlotte play against them, have an excuse to go to Germany, travel, sightsee, drink lots of German beer and food and soccer.
That sounds
Spencer in the background agrees too, by the way, just in case you can't hear him.
No, that sounds perfect. How about you, Matt?
England, Arsenal. That's what I want.
I had a feeling that might happen. Mine's also England, but a little bit of a twist. And it's not what the twist you think it is. I want us to play Burton Albion. And here's why. We're known for being a good beer city here. And if you've never looked at the Burton Albion crest, they're known for their brewing there, and their crest is literally a guy with a beer belly kicking a soccer ball, and it's the most beautiful thing. So
I'm gonna need you to share that crest.
Yeah, I'll see if I can pull it. I don't know if I can do this quickly enough on the live thing, but if you just Google it now, look up the Burton Albion crest. It's literally just a yellow shield with a beer-bellied guy kicking a soccer ball, and it's gorgeous. And so I think we just need to unite those. Just pull it. This is the lo-fi way to do it. We're just gonna pull it up on an iPhone.
Yes,
that's amazing, though.
So I just think we need to connect
love it.
These two beer-loving cities and have a nice little friendly there. So that's my choice. They're also one of my favorites to play in FIFA. Like what I like to do in FIFA is take like a really low division English team and try to work them up, and they're one of the ones I regularly pick just because I like their
I will have to do that myself now just to see. But I was hoping you would say like Stoke-on-Trent just because I love that name, and it's just
that was the obvious one. And Burton Albion, they're very close geographically to Stoke, so then I could also hop over and visit Stoke while I'm there. I believe. I don't know my English geography isn't great, but I think they're relatively close to each other. So yeah.
Small tidbit that you will love this, Corey. And I know we're not going to dive into a whole music episode again, but a buddy of mine's high school garage band that he had, his name was Stoke-on-Trent, and the only reason being because they were just trying to figure out their team name. They were looking on the globe, and it showed up on England, Stoke-on-Trent. They're like, dude, that's an awesome name. What does it mean? Who knows? That's our team. That's our band name. So
that's amazing. That makes me very happy. I enjoyed that. All right, last question, and it's a long one, but we need all the context here. So it's split into two parts for the people who are watching online. From Kate Kosterski, there were reports that Tottenham fans were rooting against their team this week. Against Manchester City. Sorry, I got tripped there. Let me start again. There were reports that Tottenham fans were rooting against their team this week against Manchester City because a win would make it easier for their rivals Arsenal to take the title, even if it meant the loss would knock them out of European League contention. So the question is, would you root against your own team if they were in this situation, Matt?
So,
David, go ahead.
I just want to chime in 2 seconds here because the past 3 days, I've been sending nothing but memes to Swift about how he needs to be a Tottenham Spurs fan for over the next 3 days just to help his Arsenal team out. So that's only that I just want to add. But go ahead, Swift. This is very personal to you.
Yeah, this is close to home for you. How do you feel, Matt?
One, I hate Tottenham just in general, everything they do. But I will say, I had a conversation with Michael Gallimore at the last tailgate, and he's a big Spurs fan. And I did say, if Tottenham were to come out and if they would have forfeited that game just out of spite, like we're not even playing this game, we're just going to lose on purpose, I would have then tipped my hat to them and be like, wow, that is some petty shithousery. And I would have had a little bit of respect for them. But of course, they come out and sucked anyway and lost. So yeah, Tottenham as usual is worthless. But I'm just half teasing. But yeah, I would never ever root against my team. I think that's just absolutely dog shit. So sorry for those who did, but that's not me. That's not what I would do.
Agreed there. Yeah, I agree. I would not, because there was even video footage of Spurs supporters yelling at their coach from the sideline, what are you doing? And just wanting them to throw it and not it just, it's crazy.
That does feel extreme, but I'll take the other side of this one.
Yeah, if you have to root against your team. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to keep going. I can't tell.
Sorry, it's the internet, man.
Right.
Go ahead.
So here's my one caveat I throw out there. The part of this question that bothers me is it does. them losing does affect their season. Because like I think all things equal, if your team's kind of already out of it and it doesn't really matter, I don't know if I would actively root against my team, but I would be like, maybe we just play some of the scrubs and not really care too much about this one and do that. Like kind of like what we were saying is like not throwing it completely, but not really giving our best effort either. I would absolutely. I think this has come out of this show when I've talked about other things. Like I can be a petty sports fan, so I would absolutely do that to a degree. But
Okay.
if it's hurting your other aspects of your season, that gets a little farther. I also wouldn't be like wearing the other team's stuff in the stadium or like yelling at the coach to do things like that's a place I wouldn't cross. But I wouldn't be against saying I wouldn't mind us losing this match so that our big rivals can't have nice things. I like when my rivals can't have nice things.
So you kind of twist my arm here, Corey, because I think there's a time Panthers fandom has just been just a hellacious scape the past few years, but there's been very little to cheer for them. So it's not that it's not apples to apples with Tottenham because they could be like Europe and all that stuff like that. But
right
with the Panthers, there's been times where I'm like, yeah, I hope we just lose this game because like if there was a way for us to lose a game and like it would keep the Saints or like Buccaneers or whoever out of the
100%.
playoffs, I'll be like, yeah, screw you. We're already eliminated. I'm not gonna have that. So I get both sides of it a little bit, but I'm not gonna. Tottenham was fifth. Like it's not like they're terrible, So
that's the terms I was saying. Matt, are you gonna chime in with something?
Yeah, you mentioned NFL. And I will say this, and I hope this doesn't ruffle any feathers. I think tanking is cheating, and it's horseshit, and it's one of the worst things in sports. You're losing, and you want to lose on purpose. That's the type of person you are. I'm sorry. I that's what I don't like about this. And like as a Panthers fan, I'm like, oh, let's tank for this. I think we have to put something in place where that is not a thing because I think losing on purpose is just garbage. Like it really is. Like tanking. Come on. That's your pride. Like, man, I hope we lose. Yeah, let's lose these next 5 games so we can get a number 1 draft pick. And yeah, get out of here. I don't like it.
Yeah, we can go down the whole petty sports fan like episode of later, but yeah, I definitely don't want tanking. Yeah. But in the back of my head, if there's like if I'm eliminated, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I don't want my rivals to have fun, but I don't want to tank.
We're gonna go down
to Corey's.
Go ahead.
To Corey's point, like if you're at the end of the season and you're out of it, playing your that makes a little more sense. Like you're not going to win anything. I'm not saying tank until like lose on purpose so you get like a better draft pick, which again I think is garbage. But I see that. But like there's no way in hell I'm playing against my team ever. I don't want them to ever lose. I'm not gonna be like, well, our rivals. If you're in that scenario, you need to rethink your team and your coach and your players. Like if you have to at the end of the year be like,
yeah,
well, I don't want my rival to win, so I hope I lose. Like, give me a break, dude. Get a different team, man. Like,
welcome to a Panthers fandom for the past 5 years.
We're going down the rabbit hole briefly. Here we go. All right. So, like, that's the thing is like you only get to that stage if your franchise or your club or whatever we're talking about here has serious issues. And so you're rooting for them to lose so that maybe the coach gets fired or maybe they can finally get some players that they need because the players that they have are garbage. Like you get to this place. Like, yeah, if your team is well maintained and solid, they're probably not in a place where you have to tank, but like with the Panthers last year, this is even though it didn't matter because they sold their draft pick. That's a whole other thing we can get into. This is not a Panthers podcast, but you got to a certain point where like they were eliminated from the playoff contention, like super early, right? It's like, why win? Like, what's the point? All you're doing is making it so you don't get as good of a draft pick next year when you badly need good players. Dang it. Why do you have to keep making me rant during this podcast? I don't, not about soccer being played on the field. I never rant about anything about the team. It's like unrelated issues.
That's why I love it. So Paul, for those who are listening and not watching live, Paul asked the question. I'll ask Corey about the wave and lane merging. I think that's the perfect way there.
Man. I'm just saying, like, the Hornets and Panthers need a lot of help, and if it takes
They do.
losing some games where they maybe don't put out their best effort to get that help that they need, I'm for it. That's where I'll end it. That's all our questions.
That's all our questions. So I will say thanks everyone for joining this fun, crazy show this week. We've had a really good episode. If you haven't listened to the episode on Monday that Swift did with the interview with Dustin, and I think I've struggled with her name, Swift, so help me out, Carla or
Carolee.
Carolee, thank you. Like from the community impact that the club,
Corelli,
thank you. Like the impact that the community's done for supporters, the team, everything like that. Go back, listen to the episode. It's not a super long episode. It's a really great interview, though. Super impactful. Listen to that on the way to Charleston this week, and it was great. So do that. And it's Thursday? So we've got 2 days before another game. Swift, well, I guess we'll talk on soccer and coffee. But anything else you want to plug with our new sponsor, Manscaped, real quick? It's pronounced Ajax. Thank you.
Yeah, help me get better internet, apparently. So go buy some Manscaped products. They may only sponsor us for this after they hear what we've said, but if it was some things, like I said, Father's Day's coming up, and guys, don't be walking with your crown jewels not taken care of. I mean, we have the crown jewel, and it's not right to be walking around with the kit, but not actually your crown jewels or Uranus or any other funny thing you could think of. And it's not just, how can I say this? They have razors, things for your beard, nose, boxers,
more than just for the crown jewels. Yeah. So awesome. Well, I think that's the perfect way to end the show here. So Corey, anything from you to end? Anything from you?
Just support Matt's computer GoFundMe by going to manscaped.com and entering the promo code corndog.
Just do it.
I'm really sorry.
But no,
sorry about my internet, guys. Sorry about the connection. I appreciate y'all staying in with us.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see everyone this Saturday against LA.